The Strait of Hormuz is not just under tension. Right now, one of the most important shipping routes in the world is being used as leverage in a war that could get much bigger. Iran has already threatened, restricted, and in some cases blocked passage. And the reason this matters is because when that waterway stops working, the entire world feels the outcome. Welcome back to the American Backdrop. Before we start, please go ahead and smash that subscribe button. It will help the channel. Today I want to talk about the Strait of Hormuz and why this small stretch of water has become one of the most dangerous places in the world right now. This is not just another headline from the Middle East. This is the only sea passage from the Persian Gulf to the Indian Ocean that carries a huge portion of the world's oil supply, and when that passage is threatened, the consequences go far beyond that region. What makes the situation different right now is that Iran is not just talking about the Strait of Hormuz. It has already restricted traffic, threatened ships, and warned that it can shut the route completely if the conflict keeps escalating. That means the global economy, energy supply, and the risk of a larger war are not connected to what happens in one narrow waterway. So why does the Strait of Hormuz matter? The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important choke points in the world. Every day, massive oil tankers leave the Persian Gulf and pass through this narrow route on the way to Europe, Asia, and the United States. Nearly a fifth of the world's oil supply moves through the passage, which means there's no easy backup if something goes wrong here. When the route stays open, nobody pays attention. When the route is threatened, prices move, markets react, and governments start making decisions very quickly. The problem is that the strait is not wide. In some areas, the shipping lanes are only a few miles across, and that means it does not take a full war to create a crisis. Mines in the water, drones near ships, missiles along the coastline, or even the threat of attack can slow traffic enough to disturb the oil flow. This is exactly why the Strait of Hormuz has always been sensitive. But right now, the tension is higher than usual because Iran is using its position along that route as leverage in this conflict. Reports have shown that Iran's Revolutionary Guard warned ships that passage could be blocked and that safety could not be guaranteed, which caused many vessels to avoid the area or turn back. Even when the strait is not fully closed, the risk alone is enough to shake the global system. When shipping slows, oil prices rise, insurance costs go up, and the pressure spreads to every economy that depends on energy coming from that region. So how is Iran using the strait as leverage? What makes the situation especially dangerous is that Iran understands exactly how much power that narrow waterway gives them. Iran doesn't need to defeat the United States in a traditional war to create problems, because its coastline sits right along the Strait of Hormuz. It can threaten ships, place naval forces nearby, deploy mines, or fire missiles from the shore. And that alone can slow the global trade. Iran has already said that if attacks continue against its energy facilities, it could completely close the strait. And that warning has forced the United States and its allies to respond. About a week or 10 days ago, the United States issued an ultimatum demanding the routes to be reopened or their power grids will be destroyed. But President Trump has extended the ultimatum. That shows how serious the situation is. Because when the flow of oil is at risk, the conflict is no longer regional. It becomes a global problem. This is why some officials have described the use of the Strait of Hormuz as economic pressure on the entire world. When one country can disrupt a route that supplies energy to multiple countries, it gains leverage even without winning a battle. The danger is not just military, it is economic, strategic at the same time. And this is what makes the situation feel like a hostage situation to many observers. The world needs that passage to stay open, but the conflict makes it unstable, and every new strike, every new threat, and every new response pushes the situation closer to something nobody wants, but nobody can completely avoid. So is it possible that this could turn into a bigger war? I believe it is possible. The reason the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most dangerous places in the world right now is not because a world war has happened there, but because it's one of the places where a larger war could begin if the pressure keeps building. When a route this important becomes unstable, powerful countries cannot ignore it. The United States wants the passage open. Gulf countries depend on it for their exports, and major economies depend on that oil to keep their industries running. Military strikes have already targeted missile sites, naval positions, and infrastructures near the strait in an effort to keep shipping routes open, which, by the way, it shows how quickly a trade dispute can turn into a military conflict. Once forces start operating in the same area, the risk of escalation becomes much higher, because one mistake or one attack can force a response that nobody planned. The world right now is already under economic pressure, with high energy prices and unstable markets, and that makes the situation even more dangerous. When the system is already stressed, any disruption in oil flow hits harder. That is why even small incidents in the Strait of Hormuz make headlines everywhere. What happens in that narrow passage does not stay there. It spreads to every country that depends on energy, trade, and stability. The Strait of Hormuz shows how the modern world, no matter how advanced it becomes, still depends on a few critical places staying calm. Right now, that balance is under pressure, and Iran is using its position along that route as leverage in a conflict that is already bigger than one country. Yes, the US has the upper hand and the military to win this war, but the stakes are high, and this war is becoming more complicated than expected. When a waterway this important becomes unstable, the risk is not just local, it is global. And that's why today, one of the most dangerous places on Earth isn't a battlefield. It's a narrow stretch of water. The entire world depends on remaining open. And that's the American backdrop. Stay sharp, stay aware, and keep looking beyond the headlines. Because understanding what is really happening in the world is the only way to see where things might be going next. If you found value here, please subscribe, share, like, and stay tuned. See you in the next one.